Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And today we are doing our second half of what turned out to be an epic wander at the grand opening of the Costco in Arizona, Buckeye to be more specific, where we saw some amazing bourbons. Not quite unicorn level bourbons, but definitely difficult to find in the wild and more so at MSRP like we did here. So they did end up getting rolled out though for the grand opening at Costco. Things like Blantons Gold, Elijah Craig 18, Blood Oath Pact number 9, and really way more. Now, before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we have cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest videos come out on Sundays and when our shorts sort of come out randomly. All right, now let's get down to the video. So while we are waiting for the WanderVision and everything to get warmed up, let ourselves get warmed up a little bit, and we're going to do a whiskey check. So today, I am going to be enjoying, you know what I think I'm going to be enjoying? A little bit of this Smoke Wagon rye. I'm feeling rye-y, but I don't want to kind of bust out the higher end rye that we got. So yeah, let's enjoy some of this Smoke Wagon, which is very reasonable. Let's see if we can get a pop on it. Get a pop here. Not the worst, not the best. And a little juice. Oh yeah. And it's whiskey. Because honestly, let's face it, you can never drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. Oh. Almost like perfumed. Very interesting. Oh, spice. Good spice. All right, so first up for today is a whiskey that we all know and love very well, but it's sort of kind of a step up from the common level, the more pedestrian version of it that you often, not often, but sometimes find at Costco when you get lucky, which is going to be this Blantons Gold. Yeah. Now, up until recently, you couldn't really find Blantons Gold here in the United States. And yeah, sure, there was guys who were kind of bringing it back in their luggage from Europe or from perhaps in Japan or Asia and stashing it away for a rainy day. Hi. But up until then, it really was not distributed here in the United States. Maybe up until really the last year, I've started to see it kind of pop up more and more. And this is the first time I think I've ever seen it at Costco, which I'm wondering and hoping that perhaps this is a harbinger of things to come. But it is this Blantons Gold, and of course it is out of Buffalo Trace, out of Kentucky. It is the high rye mash bill for Buffalo Trace, so mash bill number 2, meaning that it has 15% or more rye into it. But in addition to having a bottle that is just, I mean, it's so sparkly, right? It's just infinitely cooler than the standard Blantons line. And of course, the standard Blantons bottle, it is nice, it is enjoyable, it's comfortable, it feels warm and cozy, right? But the Gold, I mean, you got the EXL package on there, the DXL, whichever one is the high package for the Honda. But in addition to that, it does also actually have a little bit of difference in the juice because it is ABV'd at 103 proof. 103 proof or 51.5% ABV, where the standard Blantons is only at 46.5 as well. So it's a nice step up. Although it doesn't have an age statement on it, I don't think any of the Blantons really do. It is still a nice step up from the standard single barrel. And the other thing that's nice about it, and the reason why it's considered an adult version of the Blantons, is because it is, one, the next logical step in the Blantons kind of progress, and two, it is not over ABV like you get with the Blantons straight from the barrel, which is basically all ABV and a little bit of Blanton sprinkled in there. It feels like a Blanton's boss fight or something every time you take a sip of it. But don't get me wrong, it's still quite delicious. But again, it is a nice balance of increased ABV, increased flavor palette, but not going too wild. So this is the Blantons Gold, this one specifically, and you gotta be careful because it's handwritten in like gold paint. This one was dumped on 8/22/2022 from Rickhouse number 4, barrel number 904, warehouse H, and it is bottle number 204. And if not anything It's definitely a good looking bottle. That is a good looking bottle. So it was really great to see this one in the United States. Oh, we got this one at Costco for $96.99. Again, a smoking good deal, especially because if you go to a mom and pop liquor store or something like that, you're going to see it for 2, 3, 4, 5 times the MSRP. So happy to have it. And hopefully we see more of it here in Costco. So that is the Blantons Gold. All right, next up is a bourbon that I think is kind of laughable when you think about it. But if you've ever tried it, it's no laughing matter. But because it is very, very good, especially for the value. Dare I say, even as good, if not better, than the value of an Eagle Rare at $25.99, which is this Costco brand Kirkland Signature Collaboration Single Barrel Barton's 1792. Now, if you go to Costco and you walk into the bourbon section, you'll find that there are 3 levels of their signature 1792 Barton's collection. There is the small batch, which is pretty good. It's definitely quite good for what it is, and I think it's like $18, something like that. There is also the Bottle and Bond, which, I think really kind of fell flat. I'm not a huge fan of the Bottle and Bond version. But then you get to the Opus Magnum from Kirkland, which is the single barrel. And it does really seem like Costco took all their chips and said, you know what, we're going to put it on the single barrel, and it definitely has paid off. It really, truly has, because not only does it have a healthy ABV, but it also has a very healthy palate on it, an amazing palate that just really kind of invigorates the senses and puts it in a category well above its price range. You could definitely put it side by side with more expensive bourbons like perhaps a Blanton's or even a Michter's, or dare I even say a Stag Junior. I think you would find very little daylight between the two if you were to do a tasting on them. That being said, it is the most limited of the 3 Kirkland 1792 collaboratory whiskeys that are put out. It is the hardest to find, and when I do find it, I almost always definitely pick some up because it doesn't show up that often, and you don't know how long it's going to be around. Obviously, it is distilled at Barton's 1792 at the distillery. It is out of the United States, presumably Kentucky, where Barton's distillery is, and it doesn't have an age statement on it, but we know that it is at least 4 years old, and it has an ABV of 60% or 120 proof, and it's also 1 liter, which is a nice touch to it. Because not only do you get a great value whiskey as far as the taste, you get a great value whiskey as far as the quantity. And the price on this one was $28.99. So it was too good of a value to pass up. I think we bought 2 of them at least. And it's such a good bourbon on its own. And, if you gave it to your bourbon drinking friends who know bourbon, they would be very impressed with it, especially if you didn't tell them that it was the Costco brand. So that is the Kirkland Signature Single Barrel 1792 Barton's that we picked up. All right, next up is a whiskey that is going to be the oldest whiskey in this list as far as age statements go. And originally, it was made by a Baptist reverend by the same name out of Georgetown, Kentucky, which is the Elijah Craig 18-year-old bourbon. It's produced out of Heaven Hill, and it seems to be really a staple of Costco Grand openings, as it has been at basically every Costco Grand opening that I've been to in the last couple of years. This is another one of those whiskeys that if you find it at a local liquor store, the price is going to be jacked into the stratosphere because it is quite good, and it's got a great age statement on it. This one specifically is an annual release. It was bottled on 6/6/2022. And it is barrel 5913. The mash bill on it is purportedly 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye, which kind of is a higher amount of rye content than I thought it was going to have. But as always, it was a great chance to add this one to the collection, and we have a couple other ones, so I'll be really interested to see how this whiskey changes from year to year, despite being the same age statement. This one we got at the Costco Buckeye Grand Opening for $149.99, and again, it'll be another great addition to our Elijah Craig side of the collection. So that is the Elijah Craig 18-year-old. Next up is a whiskey that is meant to be a celebration of the centennial of Suntory. It is one of the oldest whiskey houses in Japan, and that is going to be this Hakushu 12, but this version is the 100th anniversary. And of course, it is just one half of the 12-year-old offerings out of Beam Suntory this year, which is the other one is the Yamazaki 12, which is considerably more hyped and considerably more popular. But as far as it goes for me, I like the Hakushu just a little tiny bit better. I think it's because of the peat. But the Hakushu 12 suffers from the same problem as the Yamazaki 12, at least the 100th anniversary, and you can see the little badge on there, is that it is priced like a whiskey that has been revamped, that has been tooled up and muscled up to maximize the celebration of the 100th anniversary. But the reality is that it has not. All that it got is the little logo right here. And aside from the subtle mention that the Hakushu 12 is from hand-picked barrels, at least on paper, the ABV, the age, and the palate all really seem to be the same. So what is the difference that justifies the price? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. And what does it even mean to be hand-selected? That is the existential question that all politicians, school teachers, and in this case, Suntory faces, which is, should we believe them? But that hand-pickedness makes it really all that much better and justifies the higher price. I'll leave that up to you all. That being said, like I said, Hakushu is going to be my favorite out of the pair, out of the couple of the 12-year-old offerings out of Beam Suntory. It does have an ABV at 43%, so that is exactly the same as you would get with the standard Hakushu. And it comes from the forest distillery in Japan that also doubles as a bird sanctuary under a majestic mountain, because of course it does, right? It is peated, which I think is one of the reasons why some people get turned off from it, but it's one of the reasons that I really love it. And it was really great to see here at the Costco, and maybe it is just the 100-year badge that we are paying the extra for, but you know, it never really hurts to have an extra bottle of the whiskey around, especially because it only gets made once every 100 years. So that is the Hakushu 12 Suntory 100th anniversary bottle, and we paid $279 for it. Now, the next whiskey up that we got from this wander, and really, it's going to be a whiskey that's kind of for all those whiskey nerds out there who enjoy whiskey. And it is a whiskey that's kind of on the cusp of the avant-garde of the whiskey industry, with interesting finishes and a quirky backstory and a very interesting mixture as well as blends of whiskeys. It is a limited release, which is this Blood Oath Pact 9. Now, despite coming in this kind of Booker's-esque style coffin, the Blood Oath really is a whiskey that thinks outside of the box. See what I did there? Anyways, each year they put out a new version of it, Pact 8, Pact 9, presumably next year the Pact 10. And they really aim to be quite creative in how the whiskey is blended and how the whiskey is finished. And it pays off to all those whiskey lovers who are looking for something that is just a little bit different, perhaps something a little bit strange. That being said, it is highly allocated. And although I don't think there are many people out there really kind of waiting to pounce on it, those few people who do love it, they are out there waiting to pounce on it. So it does get swiped up very, very quickly. It is produced by Lexro, which is a subsidiary of MGP. It is produced out of Kentucky, and the Pact 9 specifically is a Kentucky straight bourbon that is finished in Oloroso sherry casks, which is kind of uncommon. It's very common in the Scotch world, but it's pretty rare when it comes to the bourbon world, and there's probably a couple of reasons for that. Now, there is not an age statement on here, but it is blended with whiskeys that range in age from 7 to 16 years old, which is pretty old for a bourbon. I mean, 16 years, that's quite old. And the ABV on it is at a very reasonable 49.3% or 98.6 proof. So it's not going to knock your socks off, but it does kind of make sense as well that the ABV is not maxed out at the highest level, because if you want to get those kind of nuanced flavors from the Oloroso finish, I think that a higher ABV would probably not convey those as well as it could. You get distracted by the ABV. The price that we got this one for was $119.99, and I'm sure glad to have this one. And I think we actually have a couple other ones, or at least of the different packs. So bring it on and adding it to the Blood Oath part of our collection and having some additional packs. And considering how wildly the different packs vary, it'll be very interesting to be able to try them side by side and see how those differentiations manifest themselves within each version of the whiskey. So very happy to have it, and that is the Blood Oath Pact number 9. All right, last up from this Costco grand opening at Buckeye is a whiskey that is, again, a little more pedestrian. It's something that you do find often. It is a quadrennial release, so, it is sort of fleeting as well because once it's gone, and a new one's already coming out. But in this case, it is going to be the Booker's 2023-2 release, the Apprentice Batch, which overall, I think that Booker's is a great bourbon. They have great whiskeys that they come out with. And it is definitely upscale, right? It is not an everyday drinker whiskey, but it is also not so expensive or so allocated that you feel guilty after drinking it, or at least once you sober up a little bit. Furthermore, and maybe that's just me, the nice thing about it being a quarterly release is that by the time you finish one of them, if you ratio it right, you'll be just in time for the next one to come out. Now, in general, these Booker's releases seem to be pretty consistently good. Now, there are some, kind of good ones and not as good ones. That definitely is a thing. And there's upswings and downswings. That happens with any whiskey. But this one seems to be on the upswing. It was named after the early years of the famed Booker No, when he was early in his career. So it's inspired by those early whiskeys that he made when he was young and dumb and full of whiskey ideas about how bourbon could be made. And this batch, I guess, harkens back to those kind of early creative salad days for Booker No. It is the second release from this year. And of course, it is out of Kentucky, distilled by Jim Beam. And it has a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. Furthermore, it is aged, oddly, a very specific age date, which I guess all of them are, but this one is specifically aged 7 years, 1 month, and 2 days and 45 seconds. And one of the great things I love about Booker's is their whiskey is always high ABV. And this one is no exception to that because it has an ABV at 62.7% or 125 proof. So real happy to have this one to add to the collection. We have a very growing collection of Bookers and small little books, and some of the ones that we actually don't have space to put up here. But I think that they do change nicely over time, and it's nice to be able to compare them. And overall, averaged out, still damn good bourbon. So that is the Booker's Apprentice Batch. All right, so that's it for today's Wanders, the part 2 to the Costco Buckeye Grand Opening. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And in fact, I hope that you enjoy all of our videos, whether it is the Wanders or the hauls or the reviews or the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you, because we have tons and tons and tons of amazing stuff cooking up for you. But if you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow. And again, we are so thankful for that. But also because you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, as well as when our shorts kind of come out randomly. I guess we're calling those one Whiskey Quickies, but you get notifications when those come out as well. Now, before I go, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it, because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And in this case, it might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.